The following video is rated I for informative. Alright, thanks for tuning in. Here I'm doing a private lesson with a friend and training partner of mine, Michael. He's been looking for some ways to progress his Jiu Jitsu game, and so we're doing some one-on-one training. Sorry about the angle, I'll have to work on making sure we get the full shot here. So we start standing up, and we're grip fighting, and he immediately pulls guard, which is a cardinal sin in my gym. We usually give people hard time for pulling guard because you don't get into the gates of Valhalla by pulling guard. But anyway, he's 53 years old, so I let it pass this time. He goes into, starts working some deli hiva, and you'll notice he's got 2-on-1, he's going collar grips. I'd like to see him trying to go a little bit better gripping. Right here he should be trying to retain his guard a little better, so he lets me beat his guard. And he's framing his arm pretty straight, but you always want to be cautious when you're straightening your arm out, because you're always at risk of arm bar. And so here he should be trying to frame my head a little more and work his knees inside to retain his guard, but he lets me get into side control and really start working my game. And so I'm applying a lot of pressure here, and yeah, so here's some opening up. He should, again, trying to be getting his knees inside. His legs are kind of flat, and he's flat on his back, so he should be bridging a little more, pushing off and trying to retain that guard, and at least that way he will be in a more neutral position. We go out of sight right here from the camera. It's just the two of us right here. I think it looks like I get a reverse triangle, and I think I get the arm bar here. The reverse triangle position is a really tough position. I mean, it's really one of those ones where it's best just not to get there. We say it in Jiu Jitsu all the time, well, you messed up a long time ago. If you're getting caught there, he should have had a little more urgency when everything started. So slap, bump, and away we go. We're starting just laying down right here. The mats at Brian's are pretty tough, and so here you see I got like a spider guard grip. I start going to my hip, and I'm playing, start working towards a sweep, bring him over, dump him over, and pretty basic sweep. You see, I'm keeping pressure here with my left foot to really affect his base, so he can't posture on that right arm. You know, so I'm keeping that, and so there's that push-pull dynamic. I have my left hand, which is really pulling and extending my leg away, so he can't regain his balance right here. And I have his leg underhooked, and so he really has 2 points of control where he can't gain his base. And so right here I'm really I'm not trying to go for this straight ankle. I'm just feigning it so I can get him to move, so I can move on top. And so now I let the leg go, and you should always know, it's something I had to learn. I'm really big into leg attacks, and so you just got to learn when to let them go. And so here he goes into kind of a quarter guard and is turtling up, trying to prevent me from getting gift wrapped, which is good. I'd like to see him trying to turn into me more a little bit sooner, right? Because right now he's giving up his back, and we were working on this, trying to get out of that side control. And so here I pull him over into my back, and I'm working to get my hooks and get that dominant position. I'm pulling him back in the way of the camera, and here he goes 2-on-1, which is really good. He's protecting my arm and pulling it down, so that way he's neutralizing the threat of the choke. He should be trying to work towards his back, so trying to get his shoulders on the back when he does that and bridging over. Right now he's kind of, looks like he's focusing on my feet, which you don't want to do that too much when someone's on your back. The number one threat is hand fighting, making sure that they can't get you. Right here I get the cross collar grip, and I start going for, it's a zipper style choke with a bow and arrow finish. And so it's one of the times that you can cross your feet without a real risk of being tapped. And so here I get the submission. And so he should have been a little more active in his grip fighting, not worried about the legs. Should beat the hands first, isolate, and then beat the legs. So slap, bump, and away we go. We're talking a little bit here. I think he's just a little tired, and so again I'm going back, working these spider guard grips, pretty basic techniques, and I really like to always keep the distance. Here I go, I thread it in for a little bit of lasso guard, and he should have been a little more proactive and not let me settle in that lasso guard. The key on beating lasso guard is being first. Like, you don't want to let someone get that because they could just hold you. Kino Cornelius talks about that, is don't let someone just hold you. So here I just come out on top, and notice that my left leg is pinning his arms. Really good habit to get into, especially if you do MMA. We windshield wipe, and I start moving into S-mount, mounted triangle. Again, not a good place to be. He should be trying to bridge here a lot. I'm really, really high, so he should be bridging hard into me, and I'd like to see him activate his legs to try and push me off of him before I can get back into this arm. I think I'm going for the arm bar position here, yeah, and I get the tap. So I would have liked to see him base out a little more. I think my knee was tweaking a little bit on that one, so... and so here we're just taking a little break again, and you know, we're just I really wanted to do this with the videotape because I don't like pausing in the middle. You know, you see like those memes all the time and people are like, oh coach, stop, and now we're here I'm going inverted. You know, I don't like stopping in the middle of the sparring. I want it to be organic and then comment on it later. So here I'm going inverted, which is, you know, I'm smiling about it because we had a conversation that he'll be too focused on what I'm doing, right? So like I'm doing some kind of spinny inverted stuff, which is, you know, it's really a product of sport jiu-jitsu. It's I want him to focus on his game, and he's really worried about what I'm doing, so it lets me get my guard. And instantly he's in a bad position because he let me get my full guard. Now I'm moving to high mount, moving into triangle here, trying to attack from bottom and fighting for that arm, looking to get that arm bar here. I just elevate it up, get the tap. So one thing I would told him to be conscious of is just don't get lost. You know, if I do fancy spinning upside down stuff, just don't let that bother you. I think that especially a lot of lower belts, white belts in particular, they become kind of dumbfounded, and it gets them thinking. And so here I'm just telling him, you know, he needs to be focusing on shutting down my attacks. Really, when someone goes inverted like that, you should be going double grips on the legs and pinning their hips behind their head, right? Really make them immobile. You know, it's kind of Jeff Glover-esque in the donkey guard, and you gotta have a good back defense, which I have confidence in my back defense here. So here I just go for a traditional butterfly sweep. It doesn't work, and so I start coming out the back. He does a good job of regaining his hips and getting back into side control, and so here I start working. I told him about, you know, just trying to work incrementally, getting that near side leg and trying to work into a half guard position. He's got the right side underhook here. So he's in a pretty good dominant position, so I shrimp more, and I like to see him try to pin my hips more, get me flat a little bit more. He backsteps a little bit, which is good. It's good. I'm framing here, making him work. I'm sitting up, getting a little bit of a crossface, and now I'm over. Okay, so I threaten the triangle, but really I'm just trying to push his head back, so now I get back on top. And so I'm working in side control here, just keeping the pressure, working for my grips. He's doing a good job cross-facing and framing on top. And so now I'm just moving here. I'm moving to mount. He should have been a lot more active. He should have caught my leg into even a quarter guard or a half guard on the far side. Would have been a lot better than this grapevine that I got him in, right? It's really uncomfortable. Especially a young athletic guy gets on top of you, they got a really good grapevine. Or if they weigh a lot more than you, this happens to me a lot, big guys can give you a really hard time where we're getting this grapevine. So he should be extending his legs out, trying to leg pummel here to get out of this grapevine. So that's one thing that he should be doing so he can start working Upa trap roll. As I had him grapevine, I worked for the Ezekiel choke there. So really sneaky attack coming in from sleeve control. It's hard to see what's happening behind your head when someone has that mount and they are on top of you, so you always want to be aware that a lot of attacks are going to be coming from you know, when you're in the mount, people really like to attack cross collar chokes, and we've been working series on that in classes, and they're going to be trying to go Ezekiel choke. And so here we're doing a little just more talking. And so I do like to analyze in real time, but it's really good to videotape yourself, because you can't see everything that's going on. And so this is a good way. I encourage anyone who is looking to up their jiu-jitsu game and be critical of yourself, see what you can do better. And so here I'm talking about being proactive in how you're going to be retaining your guard, and moving into even a quarter guard. Make sure you're on your hip. That's one thing. In jiu-jitsu, you never want to be flat on your back, right? Because you can't generate a lot of force, right? There's no kinetic energy when you're completely pinned on your back. Gravity's working against you. Especially Mike is a little bit bigger than me, and so he's going to be pinning my hips down. And big guys are going to use that to their advantage. So you want to be in the habit of making sure you're always moving from one hip to the other. That way you can generate sweeps. You can incrementally move into guard. It's just going to be working a lot better for you. And we're working on bottom a lot. And we're just talking about what his goals are, and the problem areas that he's having. And so some of his problem areas are in mount. Some of his problem areas are me being a little over dramatic. Not sure what I'm saying here. The audio quality is not super great. I think I was probably talking about the last Kevin Lee fight, and talking about just the mental exertion, that sometimes you really, really try for something. And in the game of jiu-jitsu as well as MMA fighting, is you might sell out on something, and man, when you don't get it, it can just break you, And I talk about training with my training partner Brandon Monteith, who's probably the best 135-pounder not fighting in the UFC right now in the world. I would hold that contention. And so we're talking about, sometimes you gotta be mentally tough, have a poker face, not let people know what's going on, so you can really work on trying to maximize the difficulty of something to submit you. So here we slap bump, and away we go once again. I got a grip on his foot, and I'm engaging my feet across his legs. And here, that's what you want to do. You always want to have active feet, active toes. Like any primate you might see, right? Your toes should be as active as your hands. It's really a skill set that you have to learn, is that your toes should always be hooking, gripping, whatever they can to try and control the distance. Here I think he tweaked his knee. I think he just fell bad. Again, Brian's mats they're pretty tough. I've hurt my toe. I think I've broken both my big toes on these mats. So it's why we're not starting standing up every single time. But I encourage you to go to a gym that encourages stand up, because you need to work everything. And so we really try to work everything. So here I'm going back to, again, working a lot of spider guard grips here. I'm moving what some people call side mount. I think Jason Scully calls it that. I pull his arm across. And pulling the arm across the body really neutralizes his ability to attack and get that underhook. And so here I'm just holding into guard, start working to that side mount attack, because it's really good. If he bases out, I can sweep him, and if not, if he moves forward, I can start moving to take the back. And notice that I have my left hand across in the other armpit, right? And so I'm really trying to control his body here, but he does a good job of getting his weight back forward and coming into my full guard. And so I'm here, I'm just opening up my guard and looking for my grips. I go into a nice little half guard here. He's putting his weight down, trying to pass my guard. He's passing. I'm being active to retain my guard, moving around. I got some butterfly underhooks, so I push him away and then push him up and dump him over. Nice, come out on top. Could have been a little more smooth through the carry through to come out in a good position. So I backstep here. Usually I go for leg locks because I'm known for my leg locks, but I just change the angle, knee cut, come out to the side, come out on top. And here I step over, threatening, like I'm going to go for a triangle. I really just want him being defensive here so I can get in a more dominant position. So now I swim to the back, and wasn't very fast on that. Probably should have been going a little bit faster, but we're just really working on quality of movement, working on being in bad positions, trying to work out. So I'm not trying to take anything home. Here I'm working for the gift wrap position, so I go knee on belly to create movement, and I'm trying to get a sleeve grip. right here. Yeah, I'm being mean. I'm going cross-eyed grips and really putting that pressure in him. Just kind of make life suck a little bit, which is good. If you make people uncomfortable, they'll put themselves from bad positions into worse positions. So like here, he turns and lets me get really high mount, and again, I'm really high here, so going for the armbar, he gives the armbar up. If he could have tucked his elbow in a little bit tighter, he really could have elevated his hips up. I would have been dumped forward, and he could have come out the back. I'm going for that arm bar, and I always encourage my guys. I kind of had it, and he didn't tap, but I want to make sure that we're being safe, but we also push the limit, making sure that you're working to getting to the submission, and that the submission is happening in as realistic a context as possible, right? Because that's how you up your defense. We talked a lot about he's wanting to build his defense up. He wants to be very hard to submit or unsubmittable. That's like his future goal, and that's an excellent goal to have. You should spend a lot of time in jiu-jitsu trying to build your defense. Just listening to JRE talk to Jean-Jacques Machado, and that was the one about Hickson, he was just indomitable when it came to his defense. It was just like almost impossible to submit. So something that I've worked on, and I encourage everyone to work on in their jiu-jitsu game, is just trying to be very difficult to submit. That being a hard submission psychologically can break people, that they go from being in a really dominant position to a less dominant position, and then you take your opportunity to escape. And so we're just talking about putting yourself in a good position. And it's I like this one-on-one context, because we can talk both philosophy and goals, and we can really work on the minor details. And I look forward to doing this some more in the future. This is before jiu-jitsu class, so Monday, Wednesday at the Academy of Brian Johnson, we have I've been leading classes because my coach has been he had double knee replacement, and so now we're just I really love talking about jiu-jitsu. I really wanted to make this videotape as a recap of the things that we're doing, things that I could do better, things that he could do better, things that we're doing well. And so here, someone's probably just walking in, and what am I doing with my belt? Okay, yeah. So I was telling him about what he needs to be doing in preventing that mounted triangle, because I got there a couple of times, and so I wanted to just give him some pointers on what he needs to be trying to accomplish to get out of this position, because mounted triangle is a bad spot, man. It's another one of those where it's like don't get there if you can avoid it. But I trained recently with Rafa Lovato Sr., and he showed some tips on how to survive and get out, and so here I'm just giving him some pointers in jiu-jitsu. And I'm a big proponent of concept-based jiu-jitsu. I think that's how you accelerate your game relatively quickly. It's how I've advanced really quickly. And so I need to know what his goals are and then work backwards to deconstruct them. So I need to be, if he needs to get my arm across, I need to be working to get my arm to the opposite side, and, making it difficult for him to get there, and having him to work around and break his posture so I can get an opening to get out of this position. Sometimes it's hard to finish the mounted triangle. Especially for people who have bigger legs, and so sometimes they have to fall to their back. And so when he's falling to their back, that's when I have a chance to, if you see here, I pop out the back. We call it popping out the back door. It's just I come around to the back side. And so, yeah, here I'm talking about getting just that gable grip. When you're in a mounted triangle, you want to get that gable grip, and you want to try and be at the center line, right? Because when your arm is across your body, which is the goal that he's trying to accomplish, it's going to be putting pressure on your carotid artery, on the far side carotid artery. So you want to be getting that gable grip and fighting to the center line, waiting for an opening. And the wider that you can make your lats and your back, so when you're wide and then bring your elbows in, you're going to create a little bit of space. So you also you just want to give yourself an opportunity to get out, right? Or advance to a better position. And so here, again, I'm giving him mounted triangle, and we're talking about, see how my arm's coming. When my arm comes across and he pushes that elbow, I'm in a lot of trouble, right? But so if I can tuck my arm in between my legs here, I'm creating a lot more space on that far side, right? And so I'm not putting as much pressure on my carotid artery. And again, there's a lot of other attacks and chokes you're going to be opening up yourself for. So you have to address the problem at hand, right? He could switch attacks, start working a lapel choke or you know, a collar choke or something from here too, and I'd have to change where my hands are. But see here, he's getting that triangle, and see he's having difficulty locking it up, and so now I have my hand in between my thighs, which is now he's got a new problem that he needs to address. And I know that, right? Like I can, you know, if I were ahead in a tournament and now I'm in mounted triangles, hey, I just got to survive for 20 or 30 seconds, right? We want to be very difficult to submit. That's, you know, you want to have everything on the table to try and prevent someone from finishing the attack that they're in, and hopefully they'll move on to something else, or you just give yourself a chance to escape. And so here he's locking up, trying to lock up the triangle, and I'm wrapping my hands around his waist, making it difficult for him to even connect his legs together, which you'll notice he's wearing the Don't Fear the Reaper shirt. It's my shirt, so kudos to him. Thank you for rocking my shirt. And so here he's going for a triangle. Yeah, and see, I'm keeping my hand outside and I'm peeling his leg off, peeling his leg off, peeling his leg off. Always aware that I'm at risk of omoplata here, but I'd much rather give up the position for omoplata, step over, and then create a scramble than be in that triangle position. Triangle is just, it's very deadly, you know, especially people who are proficient in the triangle. And again, here I'm just talking about incrementalism, right? Jiu-Jitsu can be a game of inches or sometimes millimeters if you're into the metric system, and you just want to give yourself time and just inch towards those escapes, right? Every time his legs come a little bit further apart, I'm one step closer to getting out of that position. So, you know, you're gonna have to work and make sure that you're being as active as you possibly can to give yourself as much space, right? When you're attacking in jiu-jitsu, space is the enemy, and when you're being attacked and you're in defense mode, the more space, just give yourself just enough space to breathe, give you some time to think, you know, regroup, and get everything done. So we were here for about an hour before this, and I just wanted to talk, and we did some drills and some side control drills and escaping side control and stuff, and so I was really just happy to get the chance to work with him and go over some things. And so I'm looking forward to doing a lot more privates in the future, and I'm sure you'll see a lot more videos like this coming out. So thanks for tuning in. If you ever have any questions, or maybe you want a video for me to review, check me out at geeksandgains@gmail.com. I also run my law site, Late Night Legal, in case anyone needs a warrior in the courtroom. Thanks.